Well, this is Gabriel Montoya here with MaxBoxing.com. Here with Ken Porter, the father and trainer of Shawn Porter.
Right.
First, that's such a strange, interesting relationship of the father trainer to the son. What's it like watching your son and kind of teaching him how to fight? You know, you're protecting him, and yet you're teaching him to protect himself.
You know what? It's never really been a situation where I felt that I was protecting him as much as I was giving him something that he would use, in his life. Turning professional boxing, that was never a conversation we had as he grew up. We never had that conversation. I always thought Shawn would go play college football. So that was never a conversation.
So you're running back?
Yeah, he was a running back and D-back, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did it turn?
It turned, he had a lot of scholarships his senior year, and he was Old Spice Red Zone Player of the Year, USA Today Player of the Week, and what happened was the schools that wanted him really wanted him to go to a weightlifting program and get bigger, and he was concerned that he would never be able to box again. He was already fighting at 165 pounds because when he would leave the football season at 175, I wouldn't try to take the weight off. I just let him box where he was at.
Okay.
And so he was concerned that that was going to happen and he wouldn't be able to box again. So he told me that he didn't want to take the scholarship because he didn't feel that if he went to college, played college football, and blew up to 190 pounds, that he would ever get his weight off.
Sure.
So,
and that seemed to be his love. That was the thing that he liked to do.
And it shocked me, and we talked about it probably for an hour or longer. We walked and talked for an hour, and he said, hey, I really want to, continue with boxing because I've never sat the bench. I've never watched, since he was 8 years old. He's never watched a game. He's always played in the game. He never had an injury from 8 years old all the way through his senior year in high school playing football. So he's always been in the game. He's always been the man.
Yeah.
And he just didn't want that.
Does that the man kind of persona, do you see that kind of carry over into him as a boxer? He's always been so mild-mannered to me.
You know what? The kid is so evenly keeled, quiet, nice, good person. My lawyer used to joke that he was the valedictorian of the 2008 class. He graduated like 3 months early.
Wow.
Because all his grades were great. He had everything in, and they said, hey, you're good. Just show up to walk across the stage.
Wow.
So he's not typical. He's definitely a different type of person than the person that you actually see once he gets in the ring.
Right.
In terms of protecting him, today was the only time that I've ever felt I've ever had to protect him in all of these years that he's boxing, because Kirkland's a madman.
Yeah, got some chaos in there.
Right, and he was out of control, and I had to say something about that, with the blows behind the head.
The hammer fists,
hammer fists while Shawn was down. But it all came back together and it worked itself out. But it's funny that you should mention that. In all these years, I've never felt that I had to protect him. But in that situation, you can't protect yourself.
Right.
Because your head is down and you don't know what's going on until it's over with. So.
Yeah. Was that an unusual sparring session? That was very intense. I've seen a lot.
That was the most intense sparring session I've ever seen. I've seen very, very high intense sparring sessions with a Manny Pacquiao, but they're skillful.
Yeah.
And they're respectful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's been some other guys that he sparred with that, it got intense and things like that, but again, it was still on that level of right there, we're just competing. Whereas today was the other guy said, hey, you know what? I'll crush you.
Yeah.
If you don't, the bell rings, I'll hit you. If I get a chance to, I'll hit you behind the head. And so there was no holds barred with him.
That's kind of good in a sense. I mean, you get a little bit of chaos. It's controlled, but your guy goes through the lesson, and I thought he did very well.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about your son as a fighter?
Well, you know what? Let's just talk about him as a fighter, not as my son.
Okay, how about
okay.
that?
As a fighter, he showed that he would deal with that type of adversity, and he didn't get rattled by it. He didn't get upset. There was no, words from him, hey man, or whatever. He just let it happen, and he took it out on him in the ring.
Yeah.
So that showed growth in a place that I hadn't seen, but you could never script that. You could not, you know what I'm saying? We couldn't have paid James. Well, maybe we could pay James to come in here and act like that. He'd probably do it for free.
Yeah, you have to prompt him.
But yeah.
You guys have been at Wild Card. Now you're up here. Now you're actually based out of Vegas now.
Yes.
But I'm curious, what brought you here?
Okay, so yeah, we spent a couple of years in the Wild Card.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. That's family over there. We'll go back whenever we have opportunities and time and chance. We really wanted to try to get with Freddie and Manny. We just spent some time with Freddie at the Hall of Fame induction in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And we discussed Shawn coming in, the possibility of working with Manny, because we knew we possibly might be fighting Devon.
Right.
The time frames and things like that didn't work, obviously, because they're over there already over the Philippines, and we're getting ready here, and you can't take that kind of trip.
Yeah.
You gotta fight that close. Moving to Vegas and training in the gyms that we have in Vegas, like Mayweather's gym, of course. Training also in the Hit Factory at the 50s gym. We've again made some more relationships, pay our gym fees, and keep moving.
Yeah.
But now coming here, this was a situation where I had been in contact with Mr. Conte actually through a mutual friend, Steve Kim, who told me, hey, this is a good guy, give him a call. I totally believe everything that Steve Kim says would be helpful to us, so I investigated, looked into it, made a few phone calls, and we communicated for probably 4 or 5 months before we actually came here.
Yeah.
The benefits here are tremendous, and I've always taught my athlete, this particular athlete, that we're always trying to excel. I'm always putting him in a position to excel, put him somewhere where he can continue to grow and excel.
Right.
Coming here creates all of those type of opportunities and atmospheres. Everywhere he turns, there's technology. Everywhere he turns, there's great coaches. Everywhere he turns, there's opportunities for him to improve everything that he's doing.
Yeah.
So, from Victor Conte to Remy Kochemny to the guys here at the Undisputed Gym, Mike and Brian, everyone is bringing something to the table that is world class.
Right.
Everyone is bringing something to the table that's world class. Why wouldn't we sit down and eat that? It's
Without
a
question.
no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
With Conte, it's 10 years since Balco, and I've covered this beat. I know him pretty well. Steve knows him very well. For you, and you seem to remove yourself. You're more of a trainer to your son, but he's your son ultimately.
Yeah.
With his background, it didn't give you any trepidation. You didn't worry about it. I mean, did you check it out? And how do you feel about that?
I investigated. I checked it out. I actually, I've always been a fan of all different sports.
Sure.
So for many years, watching track and field, I was quite aware of things before it even came out.
Sure.
Before it came out, because I was always watching these athletes growing up. I was always watching the sport of track and field and other sports as well. All of the major sports. So, of course, because I'm very close to this particular athlete, I wanted to make sure that, here we go back to protecting him, that he was protected in this situation. So I investigated, and everything that I got back was that, this is part of his history, part of his past, but he's using this to create a better sport and create a level playing field for everyone in all sports.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like, who would know better than someone who had been involved on what not to do and what you should do.
Sure.
And I'm always trying to get information and education, and the learning experience has been great. You know, we've come here, and everything is explained, everything is put on the table. I don't see anything that's being kept from us, and so I'm feeling comfortable with everything that's going on. And my kid and myself, we've always felt that we didn't need anything but just what God gave us. We just run, and we just play, and we just do. And now we actually compete in something that people judge and also test to see if you're clean. For us, it's a no-brainer. We want everyone to know that we're clean.
Right.
Therefore, the SNAC is a no-brainer for us. It's an easy decision.
And you guys have talked about, and I think you might be under the deadline because the fight's so close. Yes. But you guys are supporters of the anti-doping movement in boxing, right?
Absolutely supporters of that. I've been a supporter of anti-dope my whole entire life. I've never done drugs, alcohol, never drank a beer, anything like that. So, that eliminated a lot of friends that I grew up with. That eliminated a lot of situations. But that helped me in my life because I didn't have those problems that my friends had.
Right.
And they're no longer, they weren't my friends. So, that for me, it's easy. It's easy for me to say that. And so having an opportunity to be a part of something that says we're clean, we just train, eat, drink, and do what we're supposed to do, and whatever happens in the ring, best man wins. I want to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody.
I agree with you. Last thing, just break down the opponent. What do you see?
You know what? I haven't broke him down yet, but just from looking at the few rounds that I've looked at him, I've watched numerous fights as a fan.
Sure.
Previously when those fights were actually going on. But just from where we are today and looking at him right now, very athletic, very fast. He's a champion. He's a world champion. He's been doing this all his life, since he's a young kid, 8, 9, 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And he's got a great trainer behind him. They're a dynamic duo.
Yeah.
So what we're planning on bringing to the table is all of the same things. Mm-hmm. A great athlete,
right.
A kid that's been doing this all his life, a dynamic duo. Me and him, we're inseparable. We've always been inseparable. He just turned 26 and he still lives with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not leaving. He'll probably have to put me out, but it's my house. But the point I'm making there in comparison, there's a lot of similarities between the two of us, and they have something that we want. So we got to go in there and take it. They're not going to give it to us. But he's an exceptionally gifted athlete. And we have every intention of taking away all of those gifts that he has in that fight. We want to dissect that, take that away from him, break him down. We want to win this fight more than anything else. We want to make it an impressive, a win that is a unanimous. If not, if we can't get a stoppage, that's our goal. We don't want anything less.
Would you say then, with those similarities between the two camps, that the difference is you guys have been willing to change? You go to Wild Card for a couple of years, absorb all that knowledge. Now you're in Vegas where you can absorb new knowledge, and then you're here where you're absorbing
always
a master class.
Trying to put my athlete in a position to excel, putting him somewhere that everything that's surrounding him is positive and makes him improve.
Right.
And I know that we've improved even more by coming here. So yes, we're going to bring something else to the table that they possibly may not have in that situation. Because you can't beat the education and information that we're getting here. It's it's scientific, it's world class, and that's what we want to be. That's what we're striving for.
Awesome.
Absolutely.